Good afternoon. Here at Sports Gazette, the time is 1 o'clock and these are the sports headlines. Jurgen Klopp took a critical view of his side's concentration after Chelsea condemned the defending Premier League champions to their fifth successive home defeat. He told Sky Sports News,
"So you have to defend it differently. That was we didn't do well there. And the details decide these kind of games, and they go too often against us, and we are responsible for that. That's clear."
England are facing another test defeat after a difficult day with the ball on day 2 of the final test in Ahmedabad. Sports Gazette cricket correspondent Nakul Pandya has more.
Well, Jonathan, for 2 sessions it looked as though England had rescued themselves. James Anderson and Jack Leach were controlling and threatening. Ben Stokes was heroic. But then Rishabh Pant happened. From 0 to 50 off 82 balls, he was batting on a different pitch. From 51 to 100 off 35 balls, he was playing a different sport.
Where is this match heading?
Where that leaves us is that England have been punished twice. Once for their batting failures yesterday in only making 205 on what is still a decent pitch, and again for picking only 4 bowlers, 2 of whom are now exhausted, and one of whom in Dominic Bess, whose confidence looks shot. India will resume tomorrow on 294 for 7, leading by 89 and firmly in control. Nakul Pandey, Sports Gazette.
Staying with cricket, South Africa have appointed their first black permanent test captain. Here's former Sports Gazette editor Daniel Gallen with more on Temba Bavuma's appointment.
Thanks, Jonathan. As you said, Temba Bavuma becomes the first black African appointed as permanent captain of the Proteas. He will skipper the white ball teams moving through the next cycle of T20 and 50-over World Cups. Dean Elgar will captain the test side, but this is a landmark moment for South African cricket.
So why has this taken such a long time?
Why is an interesting question. The short answer is that there weren't suitable candidates before Temba who possessed both the leadership qualities and the skill set necessary to retain a permanent spot in the side. Of course, Hashim Amla was permanent captain, but in South Africa's racial classifications, he is classed as an Indian, which is a shorthand for all people of South Asian origin in South Africa. Temba is, of course, classified as black. The more complex answer to your question has to do with the slow pace of transformation in the country. The team is still predominantly made up of white players, despite white people comprising less than 10% of the country. And as you know, cricket is an expensive game, and with South Africa's inequality still cut along racial lines, this has impacted the pace of transformation on this field. Well, this is viewed as a very important and positive step in the game.
On to rugby, and following Tuesday's announcement that the Women's Rugby World Cup faces postponement, Sports Gazette rugby editor Zander Chevalier has been investigating the impact this will have. So Zander, what's happened and what has the reaction been?
Thanks, Jonathan. Earlier this week, World Rugby recommended the postponement of Rugby World Cup 2021 later this year due to the ongoing pandemic. It's had a mixed response, but Wellington player Alice Soper views it as a positive.
Yeah, so how do we feel about that? I don't know, probably good. Wasn't stoked at the idea of asking amateurs to take more than 10 weeks annual leave because they've still got a qualifying tournament and a World Cup to be played. And I wasn't stoked at the lack of promotions I've seen on here on the ground. Stop asking me to support the Cricket World Cup and get hyped about the one we were supposed to have in September. So we've got a window of opportunity now. We've got the time to build some momentum and get excited. So let's do this.
And where does the tournament go from here?
So this decision still needs to be ratified early next week by the World Rugby Council. But if it is, then the tournament will be played in September 2022, hopefully when the pandemic is long behind us.
Thanks, Zander, and to Nakul and Daniel. Those were the Sports Gazette headlines. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.